Hello and welcome to the first episode of In It to Win It. I'm your host, AJ Arias, and I'm here to basically talk about sports. We're going to be talking about all news going around in the NFL and the NBA, maybe some rap in there. But yeah, mainly we're going to be following the NFL and the NBA as both are very crazy and unexpected leagues. Today I'm going to be basically... For the first episode, I'm just going to be laying down my opinions. I'm going to be going over the Dallas Cowboys schedule this year, as that is my favorite team. And I'm going to be breaking it up by game and telling you guys if I believe they're going to win or lose most games. And I'll tell you up to week 17, all the wins and losses they will have, their exact record, and how good I can see Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, Amari Cooper, all performing this year. So, without further ado, let's kick it off. Week 1, we start by going into New York and hosting the Giants, playing against the Giants. I view this as an easy win, as the Giants have 2 slot receivers playing as their best receivers. They have a very old and washed up Eli Manning that's most likely going to start for Week 1 unless something happens during preseason. And they have a washed up defense. The defense is all mainly old players other than, some good young players from here and there, as Jabril Peppers is on that team and Dalvin Tomlinson is also on that team, but I don't see them doing anything this year at all. I see them as a top 5 pick team in the first round. So I think this should be an easy win for Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, and those guys. I think it's going to be around maybe 30 to let's say 13. So about a 17-point win. I think Dak goes off for a couple touchdowns. Ezekiel Elliott gets a touchdown. I think there's going to be an interception or two around the Dallas Cowboys defense, as they have done nothing but basically improve as they signed George Iloka to add depth to that safety roster. They are gaining back Sean Lee, who could be a big win for them. And more than anything, they're re-signing DeMarcus Lawrence, and he has the whole preseason, including OTAs, to improve, and they also have him now motivated to do better than ever now that he's on a big contract, and especially now that Byron Jones is on a contract here, I think he must improve and must show that he's worth a big contract, because with cornerbacks like Xavier Howard and Kyler Fuller in this league, I think that this year he has to put up big numbers. Last year he was a top 10 cornerback, a top 5 cornerback in the NFC, top 10 in the league, without a doubt. And, I really do think that he needs to come out and, add interceptions. He had everything going for him. He had great tackles. He had a couple of quarterback pressures. They didn't bring him on the cornerback blitzes for the most part. They brought Anthony Brown, because Anthony Brown is a great cornerback for that. That's why he plays the nickel position. But I think... more than anything, Byron Jones needs to go and get some interceptions. He got 1 interception last year, and we've seen when Byron Jones gets interceptions, he can do some damage with those interceptions. Last interception he got, I believe, was against Washington in 2017, and he took that back for around a 31-yard pick six, so that's very good. And he's a player that if you give him open field, like on interceptions, he's gonna give you some. He's gonna make some damage happen. So I think that's gonna be I think he's gonna have a great season this year. And if he doesn't, then I think he's gonna come back on a 2-3 year contract, as the Cowboys will give him a trial and error. But we then go and verse Washington, and I think that's gonna be another W, because you either have Case Keenum, who's literally the definition of a mediocre quarterback throwing the ball, or you have Dwayne Haskins. Dwayne Haskins is a player that needs good receivers around him to bring him to that extra level. If Dwayne Haskins' best receiver is Josh Doctson, and no disrespect to Josh Doctson, he's pretty good. But if that's your best receiver and you want Dwayne Haskins to do something with that, that's not happening. Same thing with Case Keenum. He wasn't able to do anything in Denver last year with Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. What do you think he's going to do with a washed-up Jordan Reed and Josh Doctson? So I really don't think, unless they put one of the 15 running backs they have as a receiver, I don't think they're going to do anything when it comes to receiving. So I think Dallas takes this one easily. I do think they're going to put up more likely they're going to put up less than 30 points because this Washington defense is something to not be messed with. But how good is this defense going to be with Landon Collins, with Josh Allen, with all these guys, if they don't have any cornerbacks? The best cornerback right now, I believe, is Josh Norman. I have to recheck on that, but I'm 99% sure Josh Norman's their number one cornerback right now. And Josh Norman's washed up, without a doubt. The same time Dez Bryant's career declined, Josh Norman's declined. So Josh Norman is not earning his money. So unless they sign someone, I don't really know who's left in free agency at the cornerback position for them to sign. But unless they sign someone out of nowhere and get a steal, I don't see them doing anything when it comes to covering receivers, unless it's on a deep route. But I think Amari Cooper is definitely going to go off this game, as last game he was covered by Janoris Jenkins, and now he's covered by Josh Norman. So I definitely do think that he's going to run a little bit more in the inside, short routes to get him open field, to get him in the open field. He's going to burst with speed. And as I believe Amari Cooper will be getting double teamed by Landon Collins and Josh Norman, so I do think that opens up the slot, open up the field for guys like Randall Cobb, that if you put a receiver that's slow and can't keep up with good route running, you definitely don't want that receiver regarding Randall Cobb or Amari Cooper. Randall Cobb is a nice small guy that can run really fast, great routes. So I do think, that's not going to work out for them. So I think the Dallas Cowboys take this one without a doubt, but don't put up 20 points. I think 21, 24 is a nice range to put it in. I do think eventually along the line, Washington gets on the board up there. I think they put up around 10 points, which isn't great, but it's not too bad. And then we go and we verse Miami. The Dolphins, I think, is going to be a very interesting game. They have their quarterback of the future, if I can say, in Josh Rosen, but I don't think Josh Rosen is going to start until about week 13, week 14, because at that point, Miami's season is definitely going to be over, and I think that he's just going to be put out there, and if he does good, he does good, and he can start the next season. If he does bad, well, put him on the training squad or trade him again, so but yeah, so I don't see Miami doing anything really this game, and I don't see that defense doing anything. I do think Xavier Howard will have an interception, and that will lead to a field goal maybe. But this game, I think Dallas is going to do what they did to Jacksonville last year, but just, a little bit more mercy. I think it's going to go 27-3. That's a nice even score score that they're going to make it as. Now, we go to versus New Orleans in week 4. This one is a very interesting one to me because I think come playoff situation, Jason Witten's going to, use his veteran experience. Amari Cooper finally got his taste of actual contending, as when he made the playoffs with the Raiders, they knew their season was over. They had Connor Cook throwing the ball against one of the best defenses in the league at the time. So this time, I think Amari Cooper finally he already got his first contending taste. He made it to the conference champion, not the conference champion, I wish, the divisional round. And he's going to, take some anger that he has out on the Rams, and I think he's going to take that out on the Saints this game to prove himself. So I do think this is going to be a very close win. I have them last second leading up to a field goal, making it, I think it's going to go 30-27. But yeah, because both teams have great defenses, but have a lot of liabilities in defense. Both teams have great offenses, but liabilities in offense. And we also have to see, because Alvin Kamara is used to taking half the handoffs, and Mark Ingram taking the other half. But Mark Ingram's not there anymore, so I think Alvin Kamara is going to get tired towards the fourth quarter, and that's going to leave a gap when it comes to the running game in the third quarter, in the second half. So I do think New Orleans is going to pull this one out of the hat and take it. But I do definitely think if it comes divisional round and these two teams play in Dallas or in New Orleans, I do definitely think Dallas is going to take it, without a doubt. You have Xavier Woods and Jeff Heath covering up top, and I don't think unless you keep throwing it to the side that Jeff Heath will be playing all game, because I know they like to move him around from time to time, but unless you keep throwing it to that like general area deep, I don't think you're gonna be beat. I don't think you could beat this team in the playoffs. But we go and we verse Green Bay. We host them in Dallas, and I think this one is going to be. I think we're gonna have a nice 14-point lead for the most part. Aaron Rodgers pulls some Aaron Rodgers stuff. Finds Devontae Adams for a couple of touchdowns towards the second and third quarter. We're tied for most of the game. Going to the fourth quarter, the Packers kick a field goal with about a minute left. Dak drives, throws it to Amari Cooper around the 35. Sets up Brett Maher for around a 40, 50-yard field goal. Nails it. We go to overtime. Green Bay starts with the ball. We pick it off. Run it back for a decent amount of yardage, probably like a 20-yard pick, and that sets up Dak Prescott. He throws it to Amari Cooper, drives down, and then touchdown. He rushes it in. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. I know I went really in-depth in there. All right, week 6, we go to New York, and we go versus the Jets this time. I might be going to this game, and if I do, I'm going to try to see if I can get an interview with one of the players, in New York, or at least in New Jersey, where the Jets and Giants play. Most of the times when I go there, before the game, I get to go in the front row, where I'm right in front of the players, but not on the field. And a couple of times I've had interactions with players, not like conversations and stuff, but I've had a couple waves, a couple of salutes and stuff. It's not anything too big of a deal, but this time, now that I'm more mature and I understand what's at stake, I just hit my mic. Now that I understand what's more at stake, I think I'm going to try to get an interview or something with one of the players. I'm probably not going to get a, superstar like Leonard Fournette. I was about to say Leonard Fournette. I'm dumb. Leonard Williams. I'm probably going to get someone like, Cooper Rush, maybe. But I'm going to try to get someone and see what their plans are on the season. Then we verse Philly. Now, I really want to see this matchup, even if I wasn't a Cowboys even if I wasn't a Cowboys fan. If I was a hater of both teams, I think this is going to be a top 10 game of the season. Next to one of I think Dallas has 4 games that you must watch, and that's against New Orleans, that's against Philly, and Week 7, because when it comes to Week 16, one of the teams are already, I guarantee it, one of the teams are 2 games ahead of the other, or 3 games ahead of the other, and it's clear who's going to win, So I don't think that game is going to be too interesting. I think Buffalo and Los Angeles against Dallas are going to be fun. I think New England... Oh, no, I don't think Chicago. Wait, why did I say Buffalo? I'm sorry. I'm nervous. It's my first podcast. But I think the Rams game is going to be really fun. I think the New England game is going to be really fun. I think the Philly game is going to be really fun. And the New Orleans game is going to be really fun. All of those games, I think, are going to be top 10, if not top 15 games of the season, without a doubt. But this one I have coming down to the wire just like last year's. But I definitely have Dallas pulling this one out. I do. I think Leighton Vander Esch sacks Carson Wentz last second, or DeMarcus Lawrence does. End of the game, Cowboys kneel it down. And I think that's a reasonable score. Then you got the Giants again. We have a bye week in week 18. Week 8. I did not say 18. You didn't hear that. Week 9, we go against the Giants again. And again, if Daniel Jones isn't playing at this point, I think the Giants have no chance. Even if Daniel Jones is playing, that means he has to put up like 3 touchdowns and Saquon has to put up 2. So I definitely have the Cowboys destroying the Giants in this. If Daniel Jones is playing, I have it by like a touchdown or 2. Minnesota is next in week 10. So I do think Kirk Cousins is going to put up a couple of interceptions in this one. And I think Dallas is going to cruise past Minnesota without a doubt. Detroit, I have Detroit losing to the Cowboys. I don't think Matt Stafford is at that point anymore where he can be a star quarterback of a contender. Marvin Jones, I believe, is getting his career wasted, and he's a really good player. Kenny Galladay, same thing. But if they don't have Golden Tate, I definitely don't think they're going to win this game. But I I like the signings of Trey Flowers and those guys, but I don't think they're going to do anything this year. I think at worst, they finish third behind the Bears and Packers. I think at best, they're going to finish in front of the Bears, but behind the Packers, or in front of the Packers, but behind the Bears. So at best, I have them at the 2 seed in their division. In their division. At worst, I have them as the 3 seed. So moving forward into week 12, we have New England and Dallas, and this is going to be a great game. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this game is going to be very fun to watch and very fun for me to watch, because here you have teams that have been rumored to play against each other since 2016, 2015, 2014 even. 2014 when the Des Bryant rule, well, that's why I call it now instead of the Calvin Johnson rule. But the Des Bryant catch happened, and it got robbed from them. People are saying, well, let's say Dallas wins against the Packers, goes versus Seattle. They already beat Seattle once before. They can beat them again, especially how they're coming off of such a motivational game that they must have to win this game. And even I and a lot of other players believe that the Cowboys would have pulled this one out, beat the Seahawks in Seattle, gone to versus New England, and from there people think that Tom Brady wouldn't, the Dallas Cowboys would have ran it with DeMarco Murray if they had that position. And I definitely do think that the Cowboys would have beat the Patriots in the 2014 Super Bowl. But obviously we all know how it went. Des Bryant doesn't catch it. Next year Tony Romo's hurt. Des Bryant's hurt. DeMarco Murray leaves. Team goes 3-13. Bars. Des Bryant's never the same player after that. Neither is DeMarco Murray, and Tony Romo eventually retires the next year. Dak Prescott comes out of this. Ezekiel Elliott comes out of this. Malik Collins comes out of this. Anthony Brown comes out of this. And, now we're here. But, so I think New England's going to lose to the Cowboys. I think before Gronk retired, I had New England winning, without a doubt. I didn't think the Cowboys could cover Gronk with a linebacker, especially not with Leighton Vander Esch if you want him guarding in the inside. Jalen Smith definitely going to guard or rush the quarterback. So you have no one to guard there. So I was thinking, who's going to guard Gronk? Sean Lee is too old for this. So, I had the Patriots winning. And then Gronk retired, and I was like, okay, you're taking away their biggest weapon. Byron Jones is more than capable of locking down Julian Edelman. This one's easy. I think the Patriots lose by 7, by 10. But yeah, we move on to Buffalo. I don't think there should be really a question. They're definitely going to win against Buffalo. I mean, Cole Beasley cannot play that number 1 receiver spot. Zay Jones is still too young to play that spot. And John Brown is a slot receiver. They signed 2 slot receivers and expect one of them to go into that number 1 receiver spot. I don't think that's going to work out, and especially not when you have a young rookie that you're supposed to be, training this whole time. That's definitely not going to be working out. So I definitely have the Bills getting blown out. I think it's going to be 40-10, 40-17. Chicago, I have them losing to Chicago, but I have a feeling inside of me that it's going to be a controversial rule. That's going to happen. It's going to be like a roughing the passer rule on Mitchell Trubisky, bringing the Bears into field goal range on 3rd down, and the Bears score a field goal, win the game. The Rams game, I have them losing because I just think, the Cowboys can't be winning every single game. Every single game on this list, most of the games are easy. You look, New York Giants, one of the worst teams in the league. Washington Redskins, injury prone, don't have a good quarterback at the moment, and don't have any receivers. Miami Dolphins literally are in tanking mode. They're the new Cleveland Browns. Those 3 teams are teams that aren't even top 20 teams. Hell, they're probably not even top 25 right now. New Orleans, that's a tough game. Green Bay, that's a tough game. You got the Jets, sorry, and you got the Giants again. So that's 7. It's 7 so far of the easy games. Sorry, I'm not doing my math right. That's 5 easy games so far that they all win. And you got Philly, a top 15 game, but Philly's known to losing to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are also used to beating Philly. So then you got the Giants again, as I mentioned. Then you got Minnesota. Minnesota is in a top 15 right now, a top 15 team right now. You got Detroit. Detroit doesn't have the quarterback for it right now. So then you go and you verse New England and top 10 team. Then you got Buffalo. No, and then you got Washington again, and then you got Philly again. So really the only hard games for this team is New England, Chicago, Los Angeles, and New Orleans. That's 4 teams. Wait. Yeah, 4 teams. And then you have Green Bay in the mix, I guess. But Green Bay really isn't going to do anything to the Cowboys if they don't have a running back, and they don't have a running back. So I do think that pass rush is going to get there. So I have them losing to Chicago and Los Angeles because I think they're going to be way too exhausted to keep on beating terrible teams. I think they're going to waste most of their players' energies, and they're going to go on a 2-game losing streak. But then they definitely pick it up against Philly. I think if you win the first game in the Philly and Cowboys series, if it's not a Week 17 game and you're putting your bench players in, the same team that won the first game is going to win the second game. That's how I've studied it so far, other than in 2014, because that year was all around the place. But, anyways, against Washington, I definitely do think the Cowboys are going to win. I think they're going to play their starters probably for the first half, and the second half they're probably going to put in their backups. And I think Washington, most of their team is backups, so so I don't really think that's gonna work out too well. But yeah, so that's basically it for the first episode. I would appreciate it if you guys subscribe to the podcast, if you guys share this podcast. I'm gonna definitely start making longer episodes than just 20 minutes, but yeah, I'm really just gonna use this time to say a couple of things about myself. I'm a hardcore Dallas Cowboys fan, and if you think I'm being biased in any of my videos, because I'm gonna go over the Dallas Cowboys roster and what they should do, if they should sign Eric Berry, if how long, their stats. I've been recording my predictions of players' stats since probably April, so I've been putting a lot of time and effort into making this podcast a big thing. And, it would mean the world to me if just a couple of you would share this with your friends and tell them to give 20 minutes of their time to hear me out, But yeah, this is 16 weeks of the NFL that I can't wait to watch. I think this is going to be a great season as a football fan. There's no teams that are too overpowered like when there was in the NBA a year ago. There's no teams that you definitely know are going to win. It's a very evened out league, so I really can't wait to watch this game. And for just to put this out there, because I know the joke about Cowboys fans is, oh, this is our year. I'm going to say it, and I'm not a biased Cowboys fan. I do not think the Dallas Cowboys are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Maybe when we come to week 15, or if we beat Chicago and Los Angeles and we have a nice record at the time, a playoff record, I probably will say, oh yeah, we're winning the Super Bowl this year. But in reality, I don't know who's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I have to wait until week 2, week 3 to make that prediction. But I don't think the Cowboys are going to make it. They might make it. I'm not going to say all that. They might make it because they have a pretty easy schedule. And, they have easy schedule, and best team they're going to be playing is either the Rams or the Saints. We don't know that. So I do think they're going to make it to the conference championship this year, without a doubt. The question is, are they going to be able to make it to the Super Bowl? And that I do not know. But yeah, like I said, if you guys could share this on Instagram and Snapchat and stuff, and text it to your friends and have them listen to it. If you're into the NFL, into the NBA, watch out for the next couple episodes. I'm gonna get some people to join my podcast for the next episode, talk about NBA free agency. But I'm gonna wait till free agency is mostly over so we can go over all the trades and stuff. And I also have to write my script. Oh, and to put this out there, I'm kind of impressed myself with this. If I go sometimes, or like saying it's. I did this whole thing off script. All I did was write down the weeks and the games and if they're going to win or lose. Every time I went off on saying their stats or something like that, or not stats, but saying my opinions, that was all off script. So those stuttering moments and those pausing moments in my next podcast are all going to be cut down. I'm going to be reading off of a script, so there's going to be no more and like and so as I'm saying it. But yeah, so just tune in for the next podcast, and I'm signing out.